Yes, I'm really looking forward to getting an opportunity to catch up with these fine folks. As I expressed to our guest right here today, this morning, I had attended Goodwood back in 2001, and I can't wait to share with him what he's going to share with us because this thing's been growing ever since then, and it's just getting bigger and better. And I think that it is a bucket list for anybody who loves history as well as motorsports.
On to you. Good afternoon, Will.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good morning, Will. Jeff Hammond here. Good to see your face, and I
You too.
appreciate you allowing us to steal some of your time away over there. I know you got a busy schedule. I think people would be surprised that how how big really Goodwood is. I mean, it's not just one event; it's multiple events, it's multiple opportunities, and I'd love for you to share with us what I have experienced so that people can get as jacked up about as I am because I've got to get back over there. I have every year it comes around. I've always found myself, involved in television or racing, to the point where it's not allowed me to do it since that first year. And I'm getting to the age right now that if I don't get over and check it out, I'm gonna be gone, and it's still gonna be going on.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It gets bigger every year. I've been here since 2009, so a few years after you came, and in that time, we've gone from 6 days of motorsport events a year to 9, and everything's just got bigger and bigger with each successive year. It's a challenge to us. We regard it at the same time as a massive responsibility, but also an incredible challenge to think of new ways to entertain people, new ways. At our heart, we're a storytelling company. We put on events, but we put on events that have a really strong narrative flowing through them, and that's along with the landscape here at Goodwood, the facilities that we've got. It's that narrative thread that runs through our content that I think really distinguishes us from other motorsport events.
Well, reading about last year's or this 2024's event.
I do the same. I always refer to it as last year, and it's still this year. But yeah,
yeah, I know. It's like once it's passed, you think it's a year ago, but it's not.
Yeah.
Not really. 130 years of recognizing motorsports and I think what I loved about it, horseless to hybrid. I mean, it really encapsulates, and until you go there and witness the way you guys set this up, it's like I say, it's mind boggling. When I arrived there, I mean, number one, I never seen a castle before, and then Lord March's castle is so impressive, and the way that you usually recognize the sponsor, manufacturer, or whatever theme it is for the year is so impressive, and it's almost like I was thinking after I sent you my email this morning, I got to thinking about it, and when I was looking at some pictures, it made me think about the fact that you guys are almost like the United Nations of motorsports because you've got everybody from around the world that come to this destination to be a part of this event, and it carries a ton of prestige, but it also gives a platform for all the different companies and sanctioning bodies that want to be associated with the world of racing.
We want to
Get
be
together.
all things. We want to be all things to all people at that global level of significance. So we think that the Goodwood Hill Climb, which is the front drive of the Duke of Richmond's house, fundamentally, but for anybody who doesn't know it, 1.16 miles. It's about 7 meters wide, and it is literally the front drive to the front of the house. But we think that more significant cars and drivers have appeared on that piece of tarmac than anywhere else in the world. Because if you think of the other great motorsport venues, the Grand Prix circuits, Monza, Monaco, on the other side of the Atlantic, Indianapolis, Daytona, they've all been fantastic for one or sometimes two branches of the sport. But Goodwood is everything. It's everything from the birth of organised motorsport in 1894 through to modern Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, World Endurance Championship, WRC, Formula E, Extreme E. There's probably loads that I've missed out there, but it is everything at a recognised global level. So, yeah, as a claim to fame, that's not a bad place to start.
And again, it's like those of you who have attended, can appreciate where you are at and where I have been. But if you ever thought about something that is, I don't know, it's a happening. I mean, it's, Goodwood and good stuff, Woodstock kind of go synonymous as far as like a historical moment. This happens every year. How about explaining to us so that people have a better understanding? There's the Festival of Speed, and that's like usually in July. But then your other big event, the Revival, and this year it's going to be a little different in 2025. I think a week earlier, but still in September. Explain the differences between the two events so that people can make sure that they understand kind of like what they're all about.
So to give a very potted timing, I'll try and do it in 2 minutes. The very potted history of Goodwood. Goodwood is and has been the home of the Dukes of Richmond since the late 17th century, and over that time, each of the successive dukes, the current duke is the 11th, have used Goodwood to indulge their own personal sporting passion. So variously, the dukes have been into hunting, shooting, cricket, golf, flying, horse racing, motorsport. Motorsport began with, and each of those passions have been continued by subsequent generations. So all of those sports still continue at Goodwood. The 9th Duke was known by his sort of earlier name of Freddie March, and was a successful racing driver pre-war at Brooklands, won the Double 12 and the BARC 500-mile race at Brooklands. And he first brought motorsport to Goodwood in 1936 when he used his front drive as the basis for a hill climb for the Lancia Owners Club, of which he was the president. Then after the war, when Britain was looking for motor racing circuits to use after Brooklands and Donington, the two regular circuits, had been put out of action by the war, an Australian fighter pilot who'd been based at Goodwood during the war, because the land that's now the circuit was a RAF air base. Tony Gaze suggested to Freddie March, why don't you use the perimeter road of the airfield as a racing circuit? We used to drive around it in our spare time during the war, and it's a really nice layout. So they tried it out, they had a look, and on the 18th of September 1948, the first organised race meeting in Britain after the war was held at Goodwood. And from then until 1966, when the circuit closed, Goodwood was very much the spiritual home of British motorsport. Silverstone hosted the Grand Prix, but Goodwood was where the grassroots racing, everything from grassroots club racing right through to World Championship sports cars and Formula One, all took place at Goodwood. In 1966, Freddie closed the circuit because of safety concerns with the new breed of faster cars, but crucially kept it open as a test venue. So the circuit was still here and being used, just not for racing. And the current Duke, who was only 11 years old when the circuit was closed, was devastated because he remembered going with his grandfather and really enjoyed it and had fallen in love with motorsport at a very young age. So he vowed that when he took over the estate, he would reopen the circuit, bring motorsport back, and go on from there. By the time he took over at Goodwood in, I think, 91 or 92, there was quite a lot of local opposition to reopening the circuit. So in order to test the water and see whether there was still an appetite really for motorsport at Goodwood, he launched the Festival of Speed, inspired by that hill climb from 1936, as basically a celebration of then 100 years of motorsport. on a hill climb outside the front of Goodwood House. Their expectation in that first year was for 2,000 to 3,000 people, and 25,000 turned up. There's all sorts of stories of having to use raffle tickets as entry tickets because they'd run out, and hiding bags of money in bushes and car boots because they just needed to get rid of the money that they were taking at the gate because they had 10 times as many people as they were expecting. And really, the Festival of Speed from that first moment just exploded. There absolutely was an interest still in motorsport at Goodwood. So the Festival of Speed went from strength to strength. And in 1998, after overcoming local council objections to the noise at the circuit, he was able to reopen the circuit and launch the Revival. So the Revival is a motor racing meeting on the circuit, but uniquely, the circuit is unspoiled. It hasn't been modified since 1966. The last change to the circuit configuration was the addition of a chicane in 1952. Apart from that, it's completely unchanged. So people really are driving in the wheel tracks of Sterling Moss, Mike Hawthorne, Fangio, Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart. We've made lots of changes to make it safer. We've added tarmac runoff here and there, and we've put bigger tyre walls in and protective fencing, but the actual line of the tarmac remains the same. And the other thing that makes the Revival unique, apart from the circuit itself, is that we operate the entire event in a time capsule of 1948 to 66. So all the spectators are invited to dress in period clothing. All of the course cars on the track are period vehicles. All of the cars are up to 1966. We go to enormous lengths with set dressing to make bits of the event look like the period inspired by cultural references, some closely linked to motorsport, others wildly different. So this year, the main entrance was turned into the set of a TV Western in the 1950s. We brought the Wild West to West Hampton because we can, because the last thing we want is for Goodwood to ever be just the same as it was last year. There's always something new, something surprising. And then with those two events going from strength to strength, in 2014, we launched the members meeting, which was a continuation of a series of meetings for members of the British Automobile Racing Club that had taken place there had been 71 of them between 1949 and 1966. And after a 48-year gap, we had the 72nd meeting in March 2014 and restarted that as a club members only event. So you've got to be a member of the club to race. You've got to be a member of the club to buy tickets to come to the event, with a deliberately limited crowd so there's no crowding, inspired by the old Brooklands adage of the right crowd and no crowding. So whereas the Revival has 50,000 people a day, the members meeting has 20,000. And we allow post-66 cars to either race or do high-speed demonstrations in order to give it a very different look and feel. So that the three events complement each other, have their own strengths, and their own individual identities. Sorry, that was a bit more than 2 minutes. I apologize. But that kind of
I'm soaking all this right here up, and that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because there is so much that goes on there. And when I look through, you can go online and the website, and you realize all of a sudden that Goodwood it's not just racetracks, it's not just the castle. There are hotels, there are other events around there. You mentioned the horse racing, not only there, but you guys are worldwide. I mean, it's an international name that carries clout throughout the globe. I mean, and I find that as more of a reason. And I use the analogy of where history and speed come together. It's phenomenal, and I love the fact you were able to tie in and tell me and tell everybody who's listening and watching that this came out of a bad time in the world and has turned into something that everybody, just they want to be a part of. They want to be, they want to say that I've been to a historical part that was not only part of, world history, but, World War II history. And the fact that tradition rings loud and clear with the family. I mean, the
Yeah.
idea that Lord March and what he is carrying on here, and hopefully, he is going to be able to come out and the rest of the lineage of his future heirs and leaders, will continue this tradition that, separates it,
Yeah.
makes it rise above a lot of other events.
And Goodwood has always been, from the family's perspective, about sharing their passions with the world. Goodwood, the Goodwood estate, it's 12,000 acres, and that's kind of the heart of that. There's never been any restriction on people coming onto the estate to walk their dogs, to come and look at what's happening, because the circuit, as well as the two headline events, operates for about 200 days a year, with a combination of track days and test days and all sorts of other activities. And the public are always allowed to come in and watch and share in that passion, which is great. And you mentioned about sort of global footprint. About 10 years ago, we'd got to the point where we realized that there was no physical way of getting more people into Goodwood. You've been here and you'll probably remember the size of the roads. Goodwood's about 70 miles southwest of London, in the middle of the South Downs National Park, a few miles from the beach. All of the roads around here are small, and trying to get 60,000 people a day and 20,000 cars into the Festival of Speed is a massive management effort in its own right. There's simply no way that we can get more people or more vehicles in. So our mission became, rather than bringing people to Goodwood, it's how can we take Goodwood, what it's about, the content of the events, the stories that we tell, take those and distribute those to the world. And that was really the beginning of a project to use social media to develop an audience globally, so that we can share all the things that we love with the world, stream our events. We've got a whole team of people dedicated to producing social media content, which has massively increased our footprint. We were very proud. A couple of years ago, we clashed with Glastonbury Festival, which certainly in the UK in music terms is absolutely at the top of the tree. And the video of the McMurtry car breaking the Goodwood hill climb record at the Festival of Speed was trending #1 on YouTube for 3 days and outranked Paul McCartney's headline performance at Glastonbury. So we took that as being a sign of us doing something right.
Well, to me, again, in comparison, to a hill climb, somebody automatically thinks about Pikes Peak here in the United States and how it's been around. I think it's the second oldest event, in motorsports in the United States. These kind of things, I think are a reflection on the spirit of those who help make motorsports what it is today. That something they recognize as a challenge of man and machine has not wavered throughout the years. And the desire to be the one who has their name at the top of the list of being the best, no matter whether it's basically a 2-mile run up a hill or the one that they have at Pikes Peak, still carries clout. And it also, people want to understand and appreciate the why you want to do this. I think we have a somewhat unique distinction. The one time that I've been there with Darrell Waltrip and Junior Johnson, Darrell was there in 2000. No, Junior was there in 2000 with his '63 Chevrolet, and then we came back in 2001 with the '85 Aero Coupe Monte Carlo that we'd won a championship with. But what Darrell was trying to do, he was trying to go for a record run, and he spun our car out and backed it into one of your retaining barriers, which were the hay bales.
Yeah,
And
they
I
still
think
are.
to the amazement of all your rescue workers, they normally get the broom pan out and start sweeping up the parts. Darrell refired and finished the run out with minor damage to, and I think when it was all said and done, I know a lot of people came by and said, "This thing is a tank. This thing is a tank." You hit the bell and kept going. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, every now and then you got a little idea what it takes to be an American racer in NASCAR, because you got to have something that can withstand some minor damage but still continue to complete
Yeah.
its mission.
Yeah.
But
What people always forget
everybody over there,
with the hay
so
bales at the
wonderful.
Festival of Speed, when you hit one, each of
Yeah,
those bales weighs half a ton.
yeah,
So when somebody hits one, and the whole point of the physics of the straw bales is that you hit one, they explode, and the explosion of straw dissipates the energy, etc., etc. Physics that I should have paid attention in school and I didn't. But what people forget is that if the compacted straw bale weighs half a ton, when it
yeah.
explodes, there's half a ton of loose straw that needs to be swept up before we can put the next bale in place and carry on. And some of the high-speed shunts, fortunately, in my time without anybody being hurt, but some of them have taken out 10 or 12 bales. So you're talking about 5 or 6 tons of loose straw
Mhm.
fluttering around West Sussex that needs to be swept up.
The other thing that I found amazing is, and you've already touched on it, but to visually see everybody coming out, and I here in the United States, it looks like a picnic ground, with everybody sitting up their little area, and they're having their groups, and enjoying the atmosphere. And part of that is them having lunch and whatever on the grounds there in front of the castle and around the castle. I found everybody almost unbelievably polite.
Mm.
And when they wanted autographs, they wanted to ask questions. They were very respectful if we were having conversations with one another or somebody else until the conversation was done, and coming up and asking their questions and getting their autographs. But walking around and just watching, and tradition continue to go on, because you could see people that they hadn't seen since the year before,
Yeah.
and they were there, and they were talking and laughing and having a great time, in between the runs and all of the other events that were going on that time at the Festival of Speed that I attended. Um, has that
It's one of
ever
the things
wavered?
actually that was very different about Goodwood when it first started in '93 was that it matched the best collection of cars and the best motorsport event with a really elegant social occasion. So you have those two different characters of the event, and it's been described not by us but by others as being the ultimate motorsport garden party, and it does have that kind of atmosphere to it. And I think because we don't ever restrict anybody's access, people can go in, they can rub shoulders with the drivers, they can get in amongst the cars in the paddock. There's no restricted areas.
Mhm.
It's quite disarming. It puts people in a good mood. It makes the fans are very respectful of that. The spectators are very respectful of both the cars and the drivers. And consequently, because the drivers aren't being hassled, they're able to have a good time, and everybody is friendly is probably the wrong word, but they're there to share a passion, and I think that makes the famous drivers more inclined to reciprocate. And for them, it's just an opportunity to give something back. Often, added to which they're all there having a great time, and often will see friends that they've not seen in years or who they only see at Goodwood. So it does become this amazing melting pot of different people with different interests, all brought together by a love of cars, which is fabulous to be part of.
You mentioned, how the drivers and how they feel in coming over there. Would you say that if you go back and look at the history books, that you probably have had the largest um, gathering throughout the history of Goodwood of champions and world class champions and winners, probably greater than anybody else in the
Yeah,
motorsports
I think
industry?
so. Again, because we embrace all forms of motorsport.
Hmm.
So if you love Formula One, then Monaco or Silverstone or Monza or Spa are the places to be. If you love IndyCar, then obviously your mecca is Indianapolis, because Goodwood embraces everything. I think probably, yes, we have on 4 wheels and 2 and occasionally 3 across every branch of global motorsport, from the dawn of time through to the present day. I think there's only 2 Formula One world champions that have never been. The rest have all been here. And also because it goes back to 1948, Banjo was here, Farina was here, Mike Hawthorne was here, Jim Clark, the guys that are no longer around, all of them have that touch point with Goodwood, and Goodwood has that connection with the past, present and future of motorsport, which we're in a lucky position to be able to celebrate and share with the world.
Mr. Kinsman, thank you so much, like I say, for taking your time out. We are honored here at EPARTRADE and Racer and Speed Sport with your presence, and we have now got a connection with Goodwood. We feel like it's very important. And
you should come back over. 23 years is too long. You need to.
You're right. I've got to get back over there because, again, it is. I don't know. It's the kind of thing that if you're a real racer and you love the sport, you just. It's almost like a fairyland. It really is. I mean, it's such a great place to come to, and the atmosphere, and it's worth the drive and having to fight the traffic to get in there. I can attest to that. You just got to leave earlier and be patient.
Get in
you
early,
want to go home.
Spend the whole day, soak up as much of it as you can. Generally, I would always say come for the whole weekend because there's too much to see in a day, and that's for us part of the challenge. Give everybody.
Thank you so much, Will. Thank you.
No
What a treat. And I had the chance to attend several Goodwood events as well. So thank you very much.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Looking for a quick fix of motorsports news? The Speed Sport Daily is what you need. It's a free racing newsletter delivered directly to your email every day. We'll cover the winners and the losers and tell you who's making news off the track. It's NASCAR, NHRA, World of Outlaw, IndyCar, and so much more. Go to speedsport.com today and get signed up for America's free racing newsletter and get your daily motorsports fix. The Speed Sport Daily.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
Scott Lewis & Associates, the sales, marketing, and branding specialist for the automotive performance industry since 1988. We get our manufacturers on track by opening an extensive distribution network, providing product training to sales staff, creating fully integrated sales and marketing strategies, building successful industry partnerships, attending trade shows, events, and races, offering first-class support to customers. SLAI delivers solutions that win you sales. To get in touch with an SLAI representative, call 516-378-6100. Go to scottlewisinc.com or email info@scottlewisinc.com.
With roots in the Midwest that date back well before the Model T, Fifth Third Bank has a long history of serving the needs of automotive companies. While much has changed over the years, our passion for helping businesses put cars on the road and on the track has not. Today, we are more committed than ever as a member of SEMA, a founding member of PRI, and a sponsor of multiple race teams across several racing series.
For over a decade, Fifth Third Bank has been a staunch supporter of our industry and a great partner for many companies in the motorsports field.
Our business has been growing extremely fast, and really we could not be where we are today without Fifth Third. They provided amazing strategic advice, the capital we need to support our phases of growth.
They are true partners for me now, and what they do with their involvement in motorsports is untouched in this community.
Where can we take your business? Fifth Third Bank.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
When it comes to pushing the limits of performance, the pros know there's no room for compromise. At Crowder Cams, we don't just engineer camshafts and valve train components, we redefine what power means. Since 1955, Crowder Cams has been the name trusted by racers, engine builders, and gearheads around the globe. Whether you're building a street machine, a dragster, or a track car, Crowder Cams provides the muscle you need to dominate. And with Crowder, victory is within your reach.
For over 25 years, Wisconsin-based C-Tech Manufacturing has been engineering and manufacturing the toughest, most accessible aluminum tool drawers, cabinets, carts, and tactical storage solutions for America's hardest working professionals. Whatever you need to store and however you need to store it, put your trust in C-Tech Manufacturing. We build it better. Visit our new website at ctechmanufacturing.com or give us a call at 715-355-8842.
If you're watching this video, you might be wondering, what is WPC? WPC is a surface treatment designed to reduce friction and increase the strength of metal parts. As much as it might seem like a coating, WPC is actually a surface treatment. Think of it like shot painting, but the media is much finer, like talc. So what you're left with is a super hard, smooth surface that actually has some proprietary dry lubricants embedded within it. For more information, visit WPCtreatment.com.